The Barrett M82 slammed onto the table. 50 pounds of death. Black matte finish catching the fluorescent glare. And pinned to her collar, so small you'd miss it if you weren't looking, the sniper qualification badge that fewer than 50 people in the world had earned. General Marcus Hale's smirk died on his lips. The room, packed with Navy SEALs who'd seen combat on 4 continents, went silent. Not the respectful kind. The shocked kind. The what the hell just happened kind. She was 5'4", maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. No tabs, no trident, no reputation that preceded her. Just the rifle. And eyes that had already killed more men than most of them ever would. Still want me to leave, sir? Don't go anywhere. This story gets wild. If you're watching from your city, drop it in the comments below. I want to see how far this one travels. Hit that like button and stick around until the end. You'll want to see what happens when she actually pulls the trigger. The briefing room smelled like stale coffee and testosterone. Staff Sergeant Lena Voss stood outside the door, hand on the handle, listening to the rumble of voices inside. Deep, confident. The kind of voices that belonged to men who'd earned the right to be confident. She'd been in rooms like this before. Hell, she'd cleared rooms like this before. Different context, same energy. Always the only woman, always the outsider. Always having to prove she belonged before anyone would let her speak. Her orders were clear. Report to Forward Operating Base Sentinel. Attend the mission brief. Provide reconnaissance support. Reconnaissance support. Military code for, we don't know what to do with you, so we'll stick you in the corner and hope you stay quiet. She exhaled slowly, adjusted the collar of her uniform, and pushed the door open. 23 heads turned. 23 pairs of eyes locked onto her. The conversation didn't stop immediately. It died in waves. First the guys near the door, then the ones at the conference table. Then, finally, the cluster around the topographical map spread across the far wall. She stepped inside, let the door click shut behind her. No one spoke. General Marcus Hale stood at the head of the table, mid-sentence, one hand frozen in the air like he'd been interrupted mid-gesture. He was exactly what Central Casting would send if you ordered veteran SEAL commander. Square jaw, silver temples, eyes like chips of blue ice. 40 years of service etched into every line on his face. He stared at her, not hostile, not welcoming, just assessing. Can I help you, Sergeant? His voice carried the kind of authority that didn't need to be loud. Staff Sergeant Voss, sir. Reporting as ordered. She kept her tone neutral, professional, gave nothing away. Hale's eyes flicked to the tablet in front of him. He swiped once, twice. His jaw tightened. You're the ISR asset. ISR. Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Another fancy way of saying not a door kicker. Yes, sir. A few of the SEALs exchanged glances. One of them, a mountain of a man with a red beard and arms like tree trunks, leaned over and muttered something to the guy next to him. Both of them grinned. Hale set the tablet down. You're late. Traffic, sir. It got a couple of chuckles, small ones. The kind that said, okay, she's got a pulse, at least. Hale didn't smile. Find a seat. Try not to interrupt. She scanned the room. Every chair was taken. Deliberately, she suspected. Fine. She moved to the back wall, set her gear bag down, and stood at parade rest. Hands behind her back, feet shoulder-width apart, eyes forward. If they wanted her to be furniture, she'd be the quietest piece of furniture they'd ever seen. Hale turned back to the maps. As I was saying, Target is a high-value individual operating out of a compound 70 kilometers northeast of here. Intelligence confirms he's coordinating attacks on coalition supply routes. We go in fast. We go in quiet. We extract him before his network knows we're there. He traced a route with his finger. Primary approach from the west. 2 vehicles. Alpha Team breaches the main structure. Bravo secures the perimeter. Overwatch here. He tapped a ridge on the map. And here. Exfil by Hilo. Staging zone 3 clicks south. One of the SEALs, a wiry guy with a scar running through his eyebrow, raised a hand. What's the civilian situation? Minimal. Compound's isolated. Nearest village is 6 clicks out. And if it's not minimal? Hale's expression hardened. Then we adapt. Rules of engagement are clear. Positive ID before you shoot. The wiry SEAL nodded, but he didn't look convinced. Hale continued laying out the plan. Entry points. Rally points. Contingencies for if things went sideways. It was textbook. Clean, efficient. It was also going to get people killed. Lena knew it the moment she saw the map. The approach was predictable. The overwatch positions were too far out. And the exfil zone, Jesus. The exfil zone was a death trap if anyone called in reinforcements. She'd spent the last 8 months embedded with locals in the area. Not as a SEAL, not as a door kicker, as a ghost. Watching, listening, learning the terrain, the rhythms, the people. She knew that compound. She knew the guards rotated every 4 hours, not 6. She knew there was a secondary entrance on the east side that didn't show up on satellite imagery because it was covered by a tarp and a stack of crates. She knew the nearest village wasn't 6 clicks out. It was 4, and half the fighting-age males there were related to the target by blood or marriage. But she also knew that if she opened her mouth right now, she'd get shut down faster than a rookie with a bad idea. So she stayed quiet. Questions? Hale scanned the room. Silence. Good. We step off at 0300, wheels up at 0230. Get your gear squared away, get some rest. Dismissed. Chairs scraped. Boots shuffled. The SEALs filtered out in clusters, voices low, talking loadouts and last-minute checks. Lena waited until most of them were gone before picking up her bag. Sergeant? Hale's voice stopped her cold. She turned. He was still at the table, arms crossed, watching her with that same unreadable expression. Sir? You have something to say? Say it. She hesitated. This was the test. The one they always gave. Go ahead. Prove you're not just here to check a box. With respect, sir, I've been operating in this area for the last 8 months. Operating. He said it like the word tasted funny. Doing what exactly? Human intelligence collection, cultural advisory, reconnaissance. Sitting in cafes and taking notes. Something like that. His eyes narrowed. You think you know better than the men who've been kicking doors since before you enlisted? I think I know the terrain. The terrain, he snorted. You know what I know about the terrain, Sergeant? It's sand and rocks and people who want to kill us. That's all I need to know. She kept her voice even. The guard rotations are wrong on your timeline. The civilian estimate is low, and your exfil zone is visible from 3 separate villages. Hale leaned forward, knuckles on the table. Are you questioning my plan? I'm offering information, sir. Information from what? Tea parties with the locals? From 8 months of watching that compound through a scope. That stopped him. His jaw worked. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then, you got a better idea, Sergeant? Yes, sir. Of course you do. He straightened, grabbed his jacket off the back of his chair. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sit tight, stay out of the way, and let the professionals do their job. If I need someone to translate a menu, I'll call you. Clear? Her hands tightened behind her back. Crystal, sir. Good. He moved toward the door, then paused, looked back. And Voss? Sir? Next time you want to second-guess a mission plan, maybe try earning the right first. He left. The door swung shut. Lena stood alone in the empty briefing room, staring at the maps on the wall. Every instinct screamed at her to let it go. Orders were orders. Chain of command was chain of command. She wasn't here to be a hero. She was here to do a job and go home. But she'd seen this before, watched good men die because someone in charge was too proud or too stubborn to listen. She wouldn't watch it happen again. The base was a sprawl of prefab buildings and sand barriers, lit by harsh floodlights that turned everything the color of old bone. Lena walked the perimeter, hands in her pockets, thinking. The SEALs had set up their staging area near the motor pool. She could hear them from 50 yards out, laughter, the clatter of gear being checked and rechecked, the low thrum of generators. She stopped just outside the light, watching. They moved like a machine, every piece in sync, magazines loaded, optics zeroed, radios tested. These weren't amateurs. These were the best door kickers the Navy had ever produced. But the best door kickers in the world couldn't shoot what they couldn't see, and they couldn't see the holes in Hale's plan. A voice cut through the noise. You lost, Sergeant? She turned. The red-bearded SEAL from the briefing stood a few feet away, arms crossed, expression somewhere between curious and annoyed. His name tape read Kowalski. "Just getting some air," she said. Huh? He stepped closer, looked her up and down. "Let me guess, you're the intel attachment." "Something like that." "You ever been outside the wire?" "Once or twice." He grinned, not friendly. "Let me give you some advice. When the shooting starts, stay in the truck. Keep your head down. Don't touch anything. We'll handle it." "Appreciate the tip." "I'm serious." The grin faded. "I've seen it before. Somebody from S2 decides they want to play operator, gets in the way, and somebody else pays for it." She met his eyes, didn't blink. "I'll try not to get in the way. You do that." He turned to leave, then stopped. "Hey, what's your MOS anyway?" "Military Occupational Specialty. Your job code, the thing that defined you in the military's eyes." 11 Bravo, she said. "Infantry." Kowalski laughed. "Bullshit." She pulled her ID card from her pocket, held it up. He squinted at it. The laughter died. "What the hell is an 11 Bravo doing on an ISR tasking?" "Long story." "Yeah, I bet." He handed the card back. Looked at her differently now. Not respectful, but not dismissive either. "You know how to use that rifle you're carrying?" "I get by." "Uh-huh." He studied her for a second longer, then shook his head. "Good luck, Sergeant. You're gonna need it." He walked back toward the staging area. Lena slipped the ID card back into her pocket and kept walking. Her quarters were a shipping container with a cot, a footlocker, and a fan that sounded like it was dying. She sat on the edge of the cot, elbows on her knees, staring at the rifle case on the floor. Black, battered, covered in dust from a dozen deployments. She reached down, popped the latches. The Barrett M82 gleamed under the dim bulb. 50 caliber. Semi-automatic. Effective range, 1,800 meters. Weight, 30 pounds unloaded. Most people couldn't even lift it, let alone shoot it accurately. Lena had put 1,400 rounds through this particular rifle. Every serial number memorized, every scratch and dent a memory. She ran her fingers along the barrel, cold, familiar. On the stock, barely visible, someone had engraved a phrase, "For those who cannot speak." She'd added it herself. 3 years ago, after a mission that still woke her up some nights, a knock on the door pulled her back. "Yeah?" The door creaked open. A young specialist stuck his head in, looked nervous. Sergeant Voss?" "That's me." "General Hale wants to see you, at the range." She frowned. "The range?" "Yes, Sergeant. He said—" The kid swallowed. "He said to bring your rifle." The range sat at the edge of the base, a long stretch of open desert with target frames scattered at various distances. Floodlights mounted on poles washed everything in white light. Hale stood near the firing line, surrounded by his entire SEAL team, all 23 of them. Lena's gut tightened. She approached slowly, rifle case in one hand, her expression carefully neutral. Hale turned when he heard her boots on the gravel. "Sergeant, glad you could make it." "Sir, I've been thinking about what you said, about knowing the terrain, about questioning my plan." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And I realized, you're right, I should give you a chance to prove yourself." "Oh, hell." "Sir, these men have been training together for years. They trust each other because they've earned it, in combat, under fire." He gestured at the SEALs. "You walk into my briefing room and start picking apart my plan, but none of us know who the hell you are." She said nothing. "So here's what we're going to do. You're going to show us what you've got, right here, right now." He pointed at the range. "You make your shots. Maybe I'll listen to what you have to say. You don't?" He shrugged. "Well, we'll find something else for you to do." The SEALs watched in silence. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked like they were enjoying the show. Lena set the case down. "What's the course of fire, sir?" 3 shots. 1,200 meters. 1,500. 1,800. He paused. "Unsupported." A murmur rippled through the team. Unsupported meant no bipod, no sandbag, no rest. Just her, the rifle, and whatever she could manage with her own body. At 1,800 meters, over a mile, that was borderline impossible. Winds gusting at 12 to 15 knots, Hale continued. I'll even let you use your spotter if you got one. I don't. Too bad. He crossed his arms. Clock's ticking, Sergeant. She looked at the range, at the targets barely visible in the distance, at the wind kicking up dust devils across the sand. Then she looked at Hale. He expected her to fail. Hell, he was counting on it. She knelt, opened the case. The Barrett gleamed. Someone whistled low. Holy shit! Kowalski stepped closer. Is that an M82? Yeah. Where the hell did you get that? She didn't answer. Just started assembling the rifle with smooth, practiced movements. Barrel, receiver, optic, magazine. 30 seconds later, she stood, 50 pounds of weapon in her hands. Hale's smile faltered, just a fraction. 1,200 first, he said. She moved to the line, set her stance, checked the wind. The target was a steel silhouette, barely visible in the glare. She dropped to one knee, brought the rifle up. No support, just muscle and bone and focus. The world narrowed. Breath, heartbeat, wind. The seals faded. The lights faded. Everything faded except the target and the reticle and the space between them. Her finger found the trigger. Boom! The Barrett roared. The shockwaves slapped the air. Dust exploded around her. The rifle bucked, hard, but she controlled it. Rode the recoil. Stayed in the scope. 3 seconds. 4. Then a distant clang echoed across the desert. Hit! Someone called. Center mass. No one spoke. Lena stood, worked the bolt, chambered another round. 1,500, Hale said. His voice was tight. She moved to the next position, adjusted for distance, for wind, for the angle of the terrain. This time she went prone, not because she needed to, but because at this range, every advantage mattered. The target swam in the heat haze. A ghost. A suggestion. She exhaled slowly, let her heart rate drop, found the calm space between one breath and the next. Boom! The rifle thundered. The world held its breath. 5 seconds. 6. Clang. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. She hit it again. Hale's jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. 1,800, he said. Lena stood, ejected the spent casing, watched it tumble through the air and land in the dust. 1,800 meters, over a mile, in gusting wind, unsupported. Most snipers would call that shot luck if they made it, and they'd be lying about making it in the first place. She moved to the final position, looked downrange. The target was barely a speck, a dark shape against darker sand. The wind howled. She could feel every eye on her, every doubt, every judgment. She knelt, brought the rifle up, seated the buttstock against her shoulder. Her breathing slowed. Her heartbeat steadied. The world contracted to a single point of light in the scope. One shot, one chance, one moment to prove she belonged, or confirm she didn't. Her finger touched the trigger. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice whispered, "Don't miss." She pulled the trigger. Boom! The rifle kicked like a mule. The muzzle blast lit up the night. Dust and smoke swirled. Time stopped. 1 second. 2. 3. 4. 5. Clang. The sound carried across the desert like a bell. Silence crashed down. Not a word. Not a breath. Just 23 Navy SEALs staring at a woman who'd just done the impossible. Lena stood, safed the rifle, turned to face Hale. His face was unreadable. Then, slowly, his eyes dropped to her collar, to the small, easy-to-miss pin she wore. A silver rifle over crossed arrows. Special Operations Target Interdiction Course, SOTIC, the most exclusive sniper school in the U.S. military. Fewer than 50 graduates, ever. Hale's expression shifted. Shock. Realization. Something that might have been respect. "Who the hell are you?" he asked quietly. Lena set the rifle down gently. "Someone who knows the terrain, sir." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Kowalski started clapping, slow at first, then faster. One by one, the rest of the team joined in. Not mockery, not pity, genuine, earned respect. Hale held up a hand. The applause died. "My office," he said to Lena. "Now." He turned and walked toward the buildings. She picked up her rifle case and followed. Behind her, she heard Kowalski mutter, "I'll be damned." Quotes. Hale's office was small, functional. A desk, a couple of chairs, a map of the region on the wall. He closed the door, pointed at a chair. She sat. He didn't. For a long moment, he just stood there, hands on his hips, staring at the floor. Then, "Why didn't you say something?" "Would you have listened, sir?" He looked up. "Probably not." "Then that's why." He exhaled, rubbed his face. SOTIC. Jesus. "When did you graduate?" 3 years ago. "Score? 96%. His eyebrows went up. 96? "Yes, sir." "That's..." He trailed off, shook his head. "That's top 5 all time." She said nothing. He moved to the desk, pulled out a folder, opened it. "Says here you've been embedded with tribal elders for the last 8 months. Cultural engagement. Human terrain mapping." He looked up. "That's all bullshit, isn't it?" "No, sir. That's exactly what I was doing. But not just that." She hesitated. "I was also conducting overwatch on key targets, mapping patrol routes, identifying vulnerabilities." "Solo?" "Yes, sir." "For 8 months." "Yes, sir." He set the folder down, leaned against the desk. "Why?" "Because someone needed to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I've got." He studied her for a long time. Then he pulled a chair around and sat down, leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Show me." "Sir?" "Your plan. The one that's better than mine. Show me." She stood, moved to the map on the wall. For the next 20 minutes, she walked him through it. The guard rotations, the hidden entrance, the civilian traffic patterns, the exfil routes that didn't paint them as sitting ducks. She showed him where his overwatch positions were too far out to provide effective cover, where his approach would trigger dogs in the village 3 clicks away, where his timeline didn't account for the fact that the target had family in the local militia who would respond if they heard gunfire. She showed him everything she'd learned in 8 months of watching and waiting and bleeding into the sand. When she finished, Hale was silent. He stood, walked to the map, traced the routes she'd outlined. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "Yes, sir. If we go with this, we'll need different staging, different timing, different..." He stopped, turned to face her. "We'll need a sniper." She met his eyes. "A real one," he continued. "Someone who can sit on that ridge for 6 hours without moving. Someone who can make a shot at 1,500 meters in the dark. Someone who can cover our backs when everything goes to hell." He paused. "Can you do that?" The question hung in the air between them. This was it, the moment. The one where she stopped being furniture and became part of the team. Or the moment where she overreached and got someone killed. "Yes, sir," she said. "I can do that." Hale nodded slowly. Then he stuck out his hand. She shook it. "Welcome to the team, Sergeant Voss." Mossem. 2 hours later, the entire SEAL team gathered in the briefing room. Hale stood at the head of the table. Lena stood beside him. "Change of plans," Hale said. "We're going with a new approach." He laid out the revised mission. Different routes, different timing, different everything. The SEALs listened, asked questions, pushed back on a couple of points, but no one dismissed it. And no one dismissed her. When Hale finished, he looked at Lena. "Anything to add, Sergeant?" She stepped forward, pointed at the ridge on the map. "I'll be here. Overwatch. If you get in trouble, I'll get you out." Kowalski grinned. "Bet your ass you will." A few laughs. Tension broke. Hale checked his watch. "We step off in 4 hours, get your shit together, and get some rest." The room emptied. Lena stayed behind, staring at the map. Hale paused at the door. "Voss?" She turned. "Don't make me regret this." "I won't, sir." He nodded and left. She stood alone in the silent room, the weight of what she'd just committed to settling on her shoulders. 4 hours. Then the real test began. Outside, the wind howled, and somewhere in the darkness, the enemy waited. The night air tasted like copper and dust. Lena sat on the edge of her cot, hands steady as she field-stripped the Barrett for the 3rd time. Bolt carrier group, firing pin, extractor, every component clean, oiled, checked. The ritual calmed her. Always had. Her watch read 23:47, 3 hours and 13 minutes until wheels up. The shipping container was silent except for the dying fan and the distant thrum of generators. She'd tried to sleep, managed maybe 20 minutes before her brain kicked back into overdrive, running through scenarios, calculating angles, mapping escape routes she might need if everything went sideways. It always went sideways. She reassembled the rifle. Muscle memory. 43 seconds start to finish. A knock rattled the door. "It's open." Kowalski stepped inside, ducking under the low frame. He held 2 cups of coffee, steam rising in the dim light. "Figured you'd be awake." "Good guess." He handed her a cup, sat down on the footlocker across from her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "You know the guys are talking, right?" he said finally. "I'd be worried if they weren't. Half of them think you're some kind of ghost. The other half think you got lucky on the range." She sipped the coffee. Black, strong enough to strip paint. "Which half are you?" "Me?" He grinned. "I think you're either the real deal or the best con artist I've ever met. Haven't decided which." "Fair enough." He leaned back, studying her. "How long you been doing this? Shooting?" "Operating." She set the cup down, ran her thumb along the edge of the rifle case. 6 years, give or take. "Alone?" "Mostly." "That's a long time to be outside the wire solo." He paused. "Most people burn out after a year. Start seeing things that aren't there. Stop seeing things that are. I'm not most people." "Yeah, I'm starting to get that." He took a drink, grimaced. "Jesus, this coffee tastes like battery acid. You brought it." "Yeah, well, seemed polite." He set the cup down, leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Look, I'm going to level with you. The guys are good. Best I've ever worked with. But they're also stubborn as hell. They don't like outsiders. They really don't like being told they're wrong." I noticed. "So when we step off in a few hours, there's going to be tension. People second-guessing, watching you instead of watching their sectors." His eyes locked onto hers. "If something goes wrong, if we take contact, if the plan falls apart, they're going to blame you first. Fair or not?" "I can handle it." "Can you?" He didn't say it meanly, just honest. Because the thing about being the new guy, or girl, whatever, is that you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Not out there. One mistake and you're done. She met his gaze. Didn't blink. "I don't make mistakes." He stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, low and rough. "Damn. You actually believe that, don't you?" "Should I not?" "Everyone makes mistakes, Voss. The question is whether you can unfuck them before someone dies." He stood, stretched, joints popped. "Get some rest, or don't. Either way, be ready at 02:15. We're loading out early." "Copy." He paused at the door. "Hey, that shot you made, Medti. 1,800 meters, unsupported. What about it?" "I've been shooting for 15 years, seen a lot of good snipers, a few great ones." He shook his head. "Never seen anyone make that shot. Not in those conditions." She said nothing. "So either you're some kind of freak of nature, or you've been doing this a hell of a lot longer than 6 years. Does it matter?" "Probably not." He opened the door, stopped. "Just don't get us killed, all right?" "Wasn't planning on it." He left. Lena sat alone in the silence, coffee cooling in her hands. She checked her watch again. 2 hours and 58 minutes. What? The staging area smelled like gun oil and anxiety. Lena arrived at 2:10, gear bag slung over one shoulder, rifle case in the other hand. The SEALs were already there, some checking weapons, others running comms checks, a few just standing around trying to look calm. Hale stood near the vehicles, talking quietly with his second-in-command, a lean, hard-eyed SEAL named Martinez. When he saw Lena, he waved her over. "Sergeant, you good?" "Good to go, sir." Martinez looked her up and down. His expression gave nothing away. "You riding with Kowalski's team? They'll drop you at the overwatch position first, then continue to the objective." "Understood." "Radio check when you're in position. If we don't hear from you, we abort." "You'll hear from me." Martinez didn't look convinced, but he nodded. "Gear up. We roll in 10. Lena moved to the back of the nearest vehicle, a beat-up Hilux that had seen better decades. Kowalski and 3 other SEALs were loading equipment into the bed. They stopped when they saw her. "Morning sunshine," Kowalski said. "Sleep well?" "Like a baby." One of the other SEALs, a thick-necked guy with a shaved head and a name tape that read Carter, snorted. "Babies wake up every 2 hours crying." "Exactly," Carter grinned despite himself. "All right, you're funny. I'll give you that." The 4th SEAL, younger, maybe mid-20s, with nervous eyes, said nothing. Just kept checking and rechecking his magazine pouches. "That's Bishop," Kowalski said, nodding at the kid. "First real op? Try not to spook him?" Bishop shot Kowalski a look. "I'm not spooked." "Sure you're not." Lena set her gear down, started pulling out her kit, plate carrier, hydration pack, ammunition, 40 rounds for the Barrett, 60 for her sidearm, a Glock 19 that she'd carried so long the grip was molded to her hand. Carter watched her load magazines into the carrier's pouches. "How much does that rifle weigh?" 30 pounds empty, 33 loaded. "And you're humping it up a ridge in the dark." "Looks like." "You're either crazy or stupid." "Probably both." He laughed, actually laughed. "Okay, I like her." Kowalski clapped him on the shoulder. "Don't get too attached. She might not make it back." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Lena said. "Just being realistic." But he was smiling. Hale's voice cut through the chatter. "Mount up!" The SEALs moved with practiced efficiency. Weapons secured, gear stowed, bodies loaded into vehicles. Lena climbed into the back of the Hilux, settling between Kowalski and Carter. Bishop sat across from her, knee bouncing, hands gripping his rifle too tight. The engine rumbled to life. Hale appeared at the side of the truck, hand on the doorframe. He looked at Lena. "You know where you're going?" "Ridge 472, 1,200 meters northwest of the compound." "Egress route?" "Southwest along the Wadi. Link up at Rally Point Bravo if things go bad." "And if we need fire support?" "You'll have it." He held her gaze for a second longer, then nodded. "Don't miss." "Wasn't planning on it, sir." He slapped the door twice. The truck lurched forward. The desert at night was a different world. No moon, no stars. Clouds had rolled in sometime after midnight, thick and low. The headlights were off. The driver navigated by NVGs, following a route that wound through dried riverbeds and around rocky outcrops. Inside the truck bed, no one spoke. The only sounds were the engine's growl and the creak of suspension over rough terrain. Lena checked her watch. 2:47, 13 minutes to drop off. She glanced at Bishop. The kid was staring at nothing, lips moving slightly. Praying, maybe. Or just psyching himself up. Hard to tell. "First time?" she asked quietly. He blinked, looked at her. "What?" "Your first op." "No, I mean..." He swallowed. "Not my first, just my first with this team." "Where were you before?" "Training pipeline, then some low-speed stuff, gate security, convoy escort." He shook his head. "Nothing like this." "You'll be fine." "How do you know?" "Because Kowalski wouldn't have brought you if he thought you'd get someone killed." Kowalski, eyes closed like he was sleeping, said, "Damn right." Carter chuckled. Bishop relaxed. A little. The truck slowed. Stopped. "This is you," the driver called back. Lena grabbed her gear. Kowalski and Carter helped lower the rifle case over the side. "Radio check every 30 minutes, Kowalski said. "Miss one and we're coming to get you." "Copy." "And Voss?" She looked at him. "Don't do anything stupid." "Define stupid." He grinned. "You'll know it when you see it." The truck pulled away, taillight swallowed by darkness. Lena stood alone in the desert, 50 pounds of gear on her back, listening to the engine fade. Then she started walking. The ridge was a brutal climb, loose rock, uneven footing, every step a negotiation between speed and noise. She moved slowly, methodically, placing each boot carefully, testing her weight before committing. The rifle case hung across her back, straps digging into her shoulders. Sweat soaked through her shirt within the first 10 minutes. By 20 minutes, her legs were screaming. By 30, she'd stopped noticing. The ridge crest came into view, a dark line against slightly less dark sky. She dropped to a crouch for the final approach, scanning for movement, listening for anything that didn't belong. Nothing. She crested the ridge and went prone, crawling the last 20 meters to the position she'd marked on the map. A shallow depression between two boulders. Natural cover. Good sight lines. Concealment from below. Perfect. She set down the rifle case, pulled out her night vision monocular, scanned the valley. The compound sat 1,200 meters to the southeast. Low buildings, concrete walls, a single dirt road leading in from the west. She could see 2 guards near the main gate, another on the roof. Movement inside. Shadows crossing lit windows, everything exactly where she'd said it would be. She keyed her radio. Overwatch in position. Static crackled. Then Hale's voice. Copy, Overwatch. Stand by. She set the radio down, opened the rifle case. The Barrett gleamed dully in the ambient light. She assembled it by feel. Barrel threaded into the receiver. Optic mounted and zeroed. Bipod extended but not deployed. She'd use the rock for support instead. 10-round magazine. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds. The kind that could punch through an engine block at 1,500 meters. Or a person. She pushed the thought away, settled into position, adjusted the scope. The compound filled her view, every detail sharp despite the darkness. Guard rotation at the gate, 2 men, one smoking, the other checking his phone. Roof guard pacing, bored, weapon slung across his back, lights in 3 windows, 4th window dark. She logged it all mentally, built a picture, a rhythm. Her radio crackled. Overwatch Alpha, we're 10 minutes out. Copy Alpha, I have eyes on target, 2 guards at main gate, 1 on the roof, movement inside. Additional entrances? She swept the scope along the eastern wall, found it, just like she'd said. A tarp covering a doorway, crates stacked nearby, no guards. East side, covered entrance, no security. A pause, then Hale's voice. Can you confirm it's accessible? Negative, can't see past the tarp from this angle. Stand by. She waited. 60 seconds passed. Then, Alpha moving to secondary approach. Bravo, hold at primary. Martinez's voice, copy. The plan was shifting, adapting, because of information she'd provided. It felt strange. Good. Terrifying. She tracked the guards through the scope. The smoker flicked his cigarette away, said something to his partner. Both laughed. 30 seconds later, they went inside. Shift change. New guards emerged. Younger, more alert. She keyed her radio. Overwatch. Guard rotation complete. New security at main gate. More attentive than previous. Acknowledged. Time crawled. 5 minutes. 7. 10. Then movement. Southwest. Dark shapes flowing through the darkness. Alpha team. 8 SEALs moving like shadows. Fast. Silent. Weapons up. They reached the eastern wall. Stacked up outside the covered entrance. Kowalski at point. Martinez second. Hale third. Kowalski lifted the tarp slowly, peered inside, gave a thumbs up. They flowed through. 1, 2, 3, all 8 disappearing into the compound. Lena's heartbeat kicked up. This was it. She swept her scope across the compound. Tracking. Watching. Everything quiet. Too quiet. The guards at the main gate were gone. Inside? Patrolling? The roof guard had stopped moving. She centered her crosshairs on him. Range, 1220. Wind, negligible. Easy shot, but not necessary. Yet. Her radio crackled. Overwatch, Alpha. We're inside. Moving to primary objective. Copy. Exterior clear. Seconds ticked by. Then, shouting. Inside the compound. Not English. Arabic. Then gunfire. Short bursts. Controlled. Professional. Contact. Hale's voice, tight, controlled. Bravo, move in. Overwatch, stand by. Lena's scope swept the exterior, looking for targets. Threats. The roof guard spun toward the sound of gunfire, brought his weapon up. She centered the crosshairs on his chest, held her breath, but he didn't fire, just stood there, confused. Then he ran, toward the stairs, descending. She tracked him until he disappeared from view. More gunfire inside, louder now, voices on the radio overlapping. Second floor clear. Hallway, 2 hostiles down. Bravo at primary entrance. Then a new voice, panicked. Bishop, contact rear, contact rear. They're flanking. The transmission cut off. Lena's blood went cold. Bishop, say again. Kowalski's voice. Bishop, static. Man down. Carter's voice. Bishop is hit. Repeat. Bishop is... Gunfire. So loud it distorted the radio. Lena's scope swept frantically, looking for the threat, the angle, anything. There. Movement along the western wall. Outside the compound. 4 men, armed, running toward a secondary entrance she hadn't seen, because it hadn't been there before. They'd opened it from inside. The flanking position Hale's team hadn't accounted for, because she hadn't told them about it, because she hadn't known. Her hands moved automatically, adjusting elevation, calculating lead. Wind, drop. First target, center mass, range, 1340. She exhaled halfway, held it, squeezed. Boom! The rifle kicked. The world compressed into a single point of violence. 2 seconds, the man dropped. She worked the bolt, ejected, chambered, acquired. Second target, running, faster now. Aware something was wrong, lead him, account for speed, movement. Boom! He stumbled, went down hard. Third target dove for cover behind a wall. Smart. She waited. 1 second, 2. There, his shoulder. Edge of the wall. 6 inches of exposure. Not much. Enough. Boom! The shoulder disappeared in a spray of red mist. Fourth target was sprinting back the way he'd come. Full panic. Range 1400. Moving target. Bad angle. She led him by 3 feet. Adjusted for speed. Boom! He dropped mid-stride. Silence. Her ears rang. Overwatch, Alpha. Hale's voice, breathless. What the hell was that? 4 hostiles. Western approach. Neutralized. Jesus Christ. A pause. Good shooting. How's it look out there? She swept the scope. Slow. Methodical. Nothing moving. Exterior clear. No additional threats visible. Copy. We've got the package. Bravo's extracting Bishop. Stand by for... A new sound cut through the night. Engines. Multiple. Headlights appearing on the northern road, coming fast. Too fast. Overwatch. We've got vehicles inbound from the north. 4 trucks. Moving toward your position. Copy. Hale's voice was ice. How long? She calculated. Distance. Speed. 2 minutes, maybe less. Can you slow them down? She looked at the Barrett. 4 rounds left in the magazine. 4 trucks. I can try. Do it. We need 60 seconds. She centered on the lead vehicle. Aimed low. Engine block. Boom! The hood exploded. Steam erupted. The truck swerved, stopped. Second truck swerved around it. Still coming. Boom! Windshield shattered. The truck veered hard left. Rolled. Third truck slowed. Smarter drivers. They knew someone was shooting. Boom! Front tire disintegrated. The truck spun out. Fourth truck stopped completely. Men poured out, taking cover. 2 rounds left. Overwatch, Alpha. We're moving. 30 seconds. She could see them now. 8 figures running from the compound, 1 being carried between 2 others. Bishop. The men from the 4th truck were setting up a position. She could see the distinctive shape of a PKM machine gun. If they opened up, Hale's team was dead. She shifted her aim, found the gunner. Settling the weapon onto its bipod. Range 1100. Perfect range. She didn't hesitate. Boom! The gunner dropped. Last round. 1 more truck on the road. 50 meters back. Engine running. Waiting. She could kill the driver. Maybe. It was a long shot through a windshield in the dark. Or she could wait. Save it for when they needed it most. She waited. Overwatch, Alpha. We're clear. Exfil in progress. She watched through the scope as the SEALs reached the rally point. Loaded into vehicles, engines roared to life. The last truck on the road started moving. Slowly at first, then faster, chasing. She tracked it, finger on the trigger. Overwatch, we've got a tail. 1 vehicle. Can you... Boom! The driver's side of the windshield turned red. The truck drifted, stopped. Tail neutralized, she said calmly. Solid copy. Get to secondary exfil. Helos inbound, 5 minutes. Moving. She broke down the rifle. stuffing components back into the case with practice speed. 45 seconds. Then she was up, running along the ridgeline, boots pounding rock, lungs burning. Behind her, the compound was chaos. Lights, voices, confusion. Ahead, the secondary exfil point, a flat stretch of desert 2 clicks southwest. She ran. The helicopter's rotors were already spinning when she reached the LZ. Kowalski stood at the ramp, waving her in. She sprinted the last 100 meters, gear bouncing, rifle case slamming against her back. Strong hands pulled her aboard. The helo lifted before she'd even sat down. She collapsed onto the deck, gasping, sweat pouring, hands shaking from adrenaline. Across from her, Bishop lay strapped to a stretcher. A medic worked on him, blood everywhere. But his eyes were open, alive. Hale appeared, crouched beside her. "You good?" She nodded, couldn't speak yet. "That was some shooting." She managed a weak smile. "Thanks." 8 targets, 8 shots, in the dark, under pressure. He shook his head. "Where'd you learn that?" She finally caught her breath. "Practice." He studied her face, looking for something. "There's more to you than you're saying." "Everyone's got secrets, sir." "Yeah." He stood. "But most people's secrets don't save lives." He moved to check on Bishop. Lena leaned back against the bulkhead, closed her eyes. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind exhaustion, and something else. Relief. They'd made it, all of them, this time. Kowalski dropped down next to her, handed her a water bottle. "You know that shot you made? The one through the machine gunner?" "Yeah?" "That saved Carter's life. Probably mine too." "Just doing my job." "Yeah, well," he paused. "Thanks." She opened her eyes, looked at him. He wasn't smiling, wasn't joking, just honest. "You're welcome," she said quietly. The helicopter banked, heading west, toward the base, toward safety. But as Lena sat there, watching the desert fade into darkness below, she knew something had shifted. The SEALs had accepted her, but acceptance came with expectations, and next time they'd be counting on her even more. Next time, the pressure would be worse. Next time, she might not be able to save everyone. The thought settled in her gut like a stone, because there was always a next time. And eventually, everyone's luck ran out. The helicopter touched down at 4:23. Medics rushed the landing pad before the rotors stopped spinning. They had Bishop on a gurney within seconds, sprinting him toward the medical tent. Lena watched from the open door as they disappeared into a pool of white light. "You gonna make it?" she asked. Kowalski jumped down beside her. "Kid's tough, took one in the shoulder, clean through. He'll live," he paused. "Thanks to you." She didn't respond, just grabbed her gear and headed toward the debrief area. The command tent was already packed, SEALs peeling off body armor, checking weapons, talking in low voices about what went right and what went sideways. The energy was different now, sharp, focused, the post-mission clarity that came from surviving something that could have killed you. Hale stood near a folding table covered in maps and satellite photos. He looked up when Lena entered. "Voss, good work out there." "Thank you, sir." "Debrief in 20, get yourself squared away." She nodded and moved to the back of the tent, set her rifle case down, started breaking down her gear. Martinez appeared next to her. "That was some impressive shooting. Just doing my job. 8 for 8 in combat conditions." He shook his head. "Most snipers I know would be happy with 6 out of 10. "I'm not most snipers." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, I'm getting that." He glanced at Hale, then back at her. "Listen, the general's putting together a follow-up op. Bigger target, higher risk. He's going to want you on Overwatch again." "When?" 48 hours. Maybe less." She felt something tighten in her chest. "What's the target?" "Can't say yet, but it's the reason we grabbed the guy tonight." He lowered his voice. "Intel's time sensitive. We move fast, or we don't move at all." "Understood." He studied her for a moment. "You up for it?" She met his eyes. "Are you asking if I can handle it or if I want to?" "Both." "I can handle it." "That's not what I asked." She looked past him, at the SEALs scattered around the tent, at Kowalski helping Carter strip his plate carrier, at the empty space where Bishop should have been standing. Yeah, she said quietly. I want to. Martinez nodded. Good. Get some rest. You've earned it. He walked away. Lena finished breaking down her gear. Her hands moved automatically, but her mind was somewhere else. 8 shots, 8 kills. It should have felt like something. Victory. Relief. Pride. Instead, it just felt like work. The debrief lasted 90 minutes. Hale walked them through the mission step by step. Entry, contact, extract. Everyone contributed. What they saw, what they heard, what went wrong. When it came to the flanking attack, the room went quiet. 4 hostiles, Hale said, pointing at the map. Western approach. We didn't see them coming. Would have rolled right into us if Overwatch hadn't called it. Kowalski spoke up. She didn't just call it. She dropped all 4 before they got within firing range. How long between shots? Martinez asked. Lena kept her voice even. Maybe 10 seconds total. The room went silent. Carter whistled low. 4 targets in 10 seconds at 1,300 meters. 1,400 for the last one, she corrected. Jesus. Hale leaned forward. Walk us through it. Target acquisition, shot sequence, everything. She did, kept it clinical, methodical, range estimates, wind calls, lead calculations. When she finished, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Hale said, that kind of shooting doesn't happen by accident. No, sir. How long were you at SOTIC? 6 months? Who was your instructor? Gunnery Sergeant Rains. Hale's eyebrows went up. Tom Rains? Yes, sir. I know Tom. Good man. Hard teacher. He paused. What did he say about you? She hesitated. That I was too stubborn to quit and too precise to fail. A few chuckles around the room. Sounds like Tom. Hale sat back. All right. We've got 48 hours before the next stop. Use it, sleep, eat, check your gear. We're going after the network head this time. Bigger compound, more security, higher stakes. Martinez spoke up. Rules of engagement? Same as before. Positive ID, minimize civilian casualties. But if it's them or us, we don't hesitate. Heads nodded. Hale looked at Lena. Overwatch position is going to be critical. We'll need sustained coverage, possibly 6 to 8 hours in position. I can do that. It's not just about the shooting, it's about staying invisible, staying alert, watching our backs when we can't watch our own. I understand, sir. He held her gaze. Do you? The question hung in the air. She understood what he was really asking. Not can you shoot, he already knew the answer, but can you carry the weight of keeping 23 men alive for 8 hours straight? Yes, sir, she said. I do. He nodded slowly. Good. Get out of here, dismissed. The SEALs filed out. Lena stayed behind, collecting her notes. Hale approached. You holding up? Fine, sir. That's not what I asked. She looked at him. I'm fine. Killing 8 people in one night, that's not nothing. They would have killed us. Doesn't make it easy. She folded the map she'd been studying. With respect, sir, I didn't join the military because it was easy. No, you joined because you're good at it. He paused. Maybe too good. There's no such thing, isn't there? He pulled out a chair, sat down. I've been doing this for 26 years, Voss. I've seen a lot of shooters. The great ones, the ones who can make shots other people dream about, they all have something in common. What's that? They stop seeing targets as people. It's the only way to survive. The only way to do the job without losing your mind. He leaned forward. But eventually, that catches up with you. You start seeing everyone as a potential threat. Can't turn it off. Can't come home. I'm not there yet. How would you know if you were? She didn't answer. He stood. Get some rest. That's an order. He left. Lena sat alone in the empty tent, staring at the maps. She thought about the men she'd killed tonight, their faces, the way they'd moved, the way they'd fallen. She didn't feel guilty. That was the problem. Come on. She didn't sleep. Tried. Lay on the cot for 2 hours staring at the ceiling. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the scope view. The crosshairs. The targets. At 7 o'clock, she gave up. She grabbed her running shoes and headed out into the morning heat. The base was quiet. Most of the SEALs were crashed out, recovering from the op. A few early risers nodded as she passed. She nodded back. She ran the perimeter. 3 miles, then 4, then 5. Her legs burned, her lungs screamed, but her mind went quiet. That's what she needed. Quiet. She was on her 6th mile when she saw Bishop. He sat outside the medical tent, arm in a sling, looking pale but alive. When he saw her, he waved. She slowed, stopped. "You should be resting." "I'm fine." "You got shot." "Barely." He winced as he shifted position. "Okay, maybe not barely, but the doc says I'll be back in action in a week." "Good." He looked at her for a long moment. "I heard what you did. The flanking team. Just doing my job." "You saved my life. Kowalski and Carter saved your life. I just cleared the path." "Still," he swallowed. "Thank you." She nodded. Didn't know what else to say. "Can I ask you something?" Bishop said. "Sure." "How do you do it? Stay calm like that?" "I was panicking, couldn't think straight, but you just handled it." She sat down on the bench next to him. "You want the honest answer or the easy one?" "Honest." I was terrified. He blinked. "What?" "The whole time. From the moment I got in position to the moment we lifted off, I was scared out of my mind." "You didn't look scared. That's the trick. You don't let it control you. You acknowledge it, use it. Fear sharpens your focus if you let it. And if you don't, then you freeze and people die." He absorbed that. "How long did it take you to figure that out?" "I'm still figuring it out." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Bishop said, "The guys are talking about you, you know." "I'm aware. They're saying you're the best shot they've ever seen." "They're being generous." "Are they?" He looked at her. 8 for 8. In the dark. Under pressure. That's not luck. "No, it's practice." "How much practice?" She thought about it. "Somewhere around 100,000 rounds, give or take." His eyes widened. 100,000? More or less. Jesus. He shook his head. "I've maybe put 5,000 through my rifle." "Keep at it. You'll get there." "I don't know if I want to." She looked at him. "Why not?" "Because..." He struggled for words. "Because the better you get, the more they expect. And eventually, you can't live up to it. And someone pays the price." "That's always true, whether you're good or not." "Yeah, but..." "Bishop." She cut him off. "You want to know the real secret?" "What?" "You can't control what happens. You can only control what you do. So you train, you prepare, you give everything you've got. And when the moment comes, you execute." She paused. "And then you live with the results, good or bad." He stared at her. "That's pretty dark." "Yeah, it is." She stood. "Get some rest. You're going to need it." She started to walk away. "Sergeant Voss?" She turned. "I'm glad you're on our side." She almost smiled. "Me too, kid." The briefing for the second op happened at 1800. The command tent was packed again. Every SEAL, plus additional intelligence personnel and a couple of officers Lena didn't recognize. Hale stood at the front. "Listen up. We've got 48 hours to plan and execute the most important operation of this deployment. The target we extracted last night gave us intel on Khalid Zarkhan." A murmur went through the room. Lena recognized the name. High-value target, top 10 most wanted, responsible for dozens of attacks on coalition forces. "Zarkhan's holed up in a compound 60 clicks northwest of here," Hale continued. "Heavy security, reinforced structures, multiple escape routes. If we don't hit him now, he'll disappear for another 6 months." He pulled up a satellite image on the screen. The compound was massive. 3 separate buildings, high walls, guard towers. "This isn't a snatch and grab," Hale said. "This is a direct action raid. We go in hard, we secure the target, and we exfil before his network can respond." Martinez stepped forward. "Approaches from the south. 2 teams. Alpha breaches the main residence. Bravo secures the secondary structures. Overwatch here." He pointed at a ridge. "And here." Lena studied the positions. Both were good, but one was better. She raised her hand. Hale nodded. "Voss." The western ridge has better sight lines, covers both breach points and the primary escape route. It's also 1,800 meters from the target, long range for sustained fire support. I can manage it. Martinez frowned. What about the eastern position? 1,200 meters. Easier shots. Easier shots, but you lose coverage on the northern wall. If they try to flank from there, I won't see them until it's too late. Hale and Martinez exchanged a look. She's right, Kowalski said. Western Ridge gives us more coverage. Hale studied the map. All right, Western Ridge. Voss, you'll insert 12 hours before the main element. Get in position. Stay invisible. When we move, you'll be our guardian angel. Copy that, sir. One more thing. His expression hardened. This target is critical. If Zarkon escapes, a lot of people die. Coalition forces, civilians, we don't get a second chance. The weight of his words settled over the room. So, we don't miss, Carter said. No, Hale agreed. We don't. Not. Lena spent the next 36 hours preparing. She zeroed her rifle. Twice. Ran ballistic calculations for every likely engagement range. Packed enough water and ammunition to last 10 hours in position. Checked and rechecked her gear until she could assemble everything blindfolded. The night before insertion, she sat in her quarters cleaning the Barrett one final time. A knock. It's open. Kowalski stepped in. You ready? As I'll ever be. He sat down on the footlocker. You nervous? Should I be? Most people would be. I'm not most people. Yeah, I keep hearing that. He leaned back. You know what the guys are calling you? I'm afraid to ask. The ghost. She paused mid-wipe. Seriously? You show up out of nowhere, make impossible shots, disappear without a trace. He grinned. If the shoe fits. That's ridiculous. Maybe, but it's better than some of the other names we've come up with. I don't want to know. Probably not. His grin faded. Listen, tomorrow's going to be rough. Longer op, higher stakes. You'll be alone on that ridge for 12 hours minimum. I know. And if things go sideways, if we take heavy contact, if Zarkin tries to run, we're counting on you to keep us alive. I know that too. Do you? He leaned forward. Because last op was tight, clean, in and out in 20 minutes. This one's different. We're going to be exposed for hours. And you're going to be the only thing standing between us and 100 armed fighters. What's your point? My point is, you can't hesitate. You can't second guess. When I call for fire, you give it. No questions, no doubts. Just pull the trigger. She set down the cleaning rod, met his eyes. I won't hesitate. You sure? I've never hesitated. He studied her face, looking for cracks, for weakness. He didn't find any. All right, he said finally. I believe you. He stood to leave. Kowalski. He turned. Tomorrow, watch your sectors. Don't get complacent, and if Bishop's back in the fight, keep him close. You think he's ready? I think he's brave, but brave gets you killed if you're not careful. I'll watch him. Good. He left. Lena went back to cleaning the rifle. Outside, the wind picked up, howling across the desert, carrying dust and heat and the promise of violence. She tried not to think about tomorrow. Tried not to think about 1,800 meters of open air between her and the people she was supposed to protect. Tried not to think about what would happen if she missed. But the thoughts came anyway. So she cleaned the rifle again. And again. Until her hands stopped shaking. Whoa. Insertion was at 2 o'clock. A different truck this time. Smaller. Quieter. Just Lena and the driver, a young corporal who didn't say a word the entire trip. They stopped 3 clicks from the ridge. This is as close as I can get, the driver said. Good enough? She grabbed her gear, checked her watch. 11 hours until game time. The desert swallowed her whole. The hike was brutal. 70 pounds of gear, rocky terrain, no light except the stars. But she'd done this before, dozens of times. In worse conditions. She reached the ridge at 4:30. 2.5 hours to climb 3 clicks. Good time. She found her position. A cluster of rocks with a narrow gap facing the compound. Perfect cover, perfect sight lines. She set up slowly, methodically. Rifle. Camouflage netting. Water. Ammunition. By 5 o'clock, she was ready. By 5:30, she was invisible. Now came the hard part. Waiting. The sun rose at 6:14. Lena watched it through the scope, golden light spreading across the desert, painting the compound in shades of amber and rust. Beautiful, deadly. She logged the guard rotations, counted personnel, mapped movement patterns. 17 visible hostiles, probably more inside. At 800, she keyed her radio. Overwatch in position, 17 enemy personnel observed, guard rotations every 6 hours, light vehicle traffic on the northern road. Copy Overwatch, stand by. She stood by. Hours crawled past. The heat was merciless. By 10 o'clock, the rocks were too hot to touch. Sweat soaked through her clothes. She sipped water carefully, rationing. At 1200, activity increased. More vehicles, more people. Something was happening. She keyed the radio. Overwatch, increased activity at target location. Multiple vehicles arriving, personnel count now 25 plus. Acknowledged, we're seeing it on satellite, could be a meeting. Or an early warning. Negative, intel confirms Zarkon's still inside, we're green to proceed. Copy. At 1300, the convoy arrived. 3 vehicles, 8 SEALs per truck, plus support personnel. She watched them stage 2 clicks out, waiting for the signal. Hale's voice crackled through her earpiece. Overwatch Alpha, radio check. Loud and clear. How's it look? Busy. 27 hostiles visible. Heavy concentration near the main building. Guard tower manned. No air defense observed. Good copy. We move in 30. Keep us posted. Roger. She settled deeper into her position, controlled her breathing, slowed her heartbeat. This was it. The moment everything either worked or fell apart. At 1328, Hale's voice came through. All elements, this is Alpha. We are Oscar Mike. I say again, Oscar Mike. On the move. Lena tracked them through the scope. Dark shapes flowing across the desert. Fast. Disciplined. They reached the outer wall at 1335. Breaching charges set. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The wall exploded. Alpha team poured through, weapons up, voices sharp, commands barked in English and Arabic. Lena swept her scope across the compound, looking for threats, counterattacks. There, second floor window, man with an AK, range 1790. She adjusted, breathed, fired. Boom, the window shattered. The man disappeared. Threat eliminated. Second floor, eastern window. Good kill. More movement, roof access. 2 men emerging. She fired twice. Both dropped. Rooftop clear. The radio erupted with overlapping voices. Contact hallway. Breaching second room. Tango down. Moving to third floor. Lena's world narrowed to the scope. Crosshairs. Breathing. Trigger. A guard ran from the northern building toward the main structure. Boom. Down. 2 more from the west. Boom. Boom. Down. Overwatch. How many have you dropped? She didn't answer. Too focused. Another target. Eastern wall. Trying to flank. Boom! Overwatch! 6 confirmed. Jesus, keep it up. Then everything changed. A civilian stumbled into the courtyard. Old man, unarmed, wrong place, absolutely wrong time. He was 5 feet from Kowalski's position. If he screamed, if he ran toward the guards, everyone in Alpha Team would be exposed. Lena's crosshairs settled on him. Center mass. Perfect shot. Her finger touched the trigger. 1 pound of pressure between life and death. The old man froze. Hands up. Terrified. Not a threat. Just scared. She shifted her aim, downward. The metal tray in his hands. Boom! The tray exploded. The man stumbled backward. Alive. Shocked. Silent. Civilian secured, she said calmly. How? Never mind. Keep scanning. She did. And that's when she saw it. Movement. Hidden entrance. Eastern side. Exactly where she'd warned them. 6 men. Armed. Moving fast. Flanking position. Alpha, you've got 6 hostiles flanking from the east. Hidden entrance. They're moving to cut you off. Can you engage? She calculated. Angle. Distance. Cover. Negative. No line of sight. You need to fall back. We're 30 seconds from the package. You won't make it if they cut your exit. Overwatch, I need options. She scanned frantically, looking for an angle. Anything. There. A narrow window. Second building. If she threaded the shot through at exactly the right angle, she could hit the courtyard beyond. Impossible geometry. Impossible shot. But possible. Maybe. Stand by. We don't have time to... I said stand by. She adjusted, calculated, recalculated. Wind, distance, bullet drop, deflection through glass. Too many variables, too many ways it could go wrong. She exhaled. Boom! The bullet screamed through the window, ricocheted off a metal support beam, angled down into the courtyard. First hostile dropped. She worked the bolt, fired again. Boom! Second hostile, again, boom! Third, fourth, path clear. Move, move, move! Alpha team sprinted, dragging a hooded prisoner, running for their lives. Lena provided cover, shot after shot, keeping the enemy pinned. Her hands moved automatically. Load, chamber, aim, fire, muscle memory, instinct, training, 10 shots, 12, 15, then the radio. Package secured, exfil in progress. She kept firing. Trucks roared to life in the distance. Engines screaming. Overwatch, we're clear! Bug out! Helo inbound to your position in 2 mics. She broke down the rifle. 60 seconds flat. Grabbed her gear. Ran. Behind her, the compound was chaos. Gunfire, shouting, confusion. Ahead, the LZ, 100 meters, 50. Rotor blades thundered overhead. Strong hands pulled her aboard. The helo lifted. She collapsed, gasping, shaking, alive. Kowalski leaned over her. You okay? She nodded. Couldn't speak. 18 shots, he said. 18 confirmed kills, plus the tray trick. He shook his head. Who the hell are you? She finally found her voice. Someone who doesn't miss. Hale appeared, knelt down. That ricochet shot. Through the window. Yes, sir? That was impossible. Apparently not, sir. He stared at her. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. Welcome to the team, Ghost. The helo banked toward home. And for the first time since she'd arrived, Lena felt like she'd finally proven she belonged. The base came into view through the helicopter's open door. Harsh lights against black sky. Lena's hands had finally stopped shaking, but her ears still rang from the Barrett's thunder. They landed hard. The medics were already waiting, but this time there were no stretchers. Everyone walked off under their own power. The prisoner, Zarkin, was hooded and flex-cuffed, flanked by 4 SEALs who looked ready to put him down at the first wrong move. Lena's boots hit the tarmac. She grabbed her gear, started toward the armory. Voss? Hale's voice. She turned. My office. 15 minutes. Yes, sir. She watched him walk away, flanked by Martinez and 2 officers she didn't recognize. Their body language was tense, urgent. Kowalski appeared at her elbow. You see those suits? Hard to miss. That's Colonel Vance and some spook from JSOC. He lowered his voice. Word is they've been waiting for us. Soon as we grabbed Zarkon, they showed up. What do they want? No idea, but Hale looked pissed when they arrived. He glanced at her. Whatever happens in that meeting, watch your 6. Always do. He clapped her shoulder and headed toward the debrief tent with the rest of the team. Lena stood alone on the tarmac, watching the helicopter's rotors slow. The adrenaline was wearing off now, leaving behind exhaustion and something else. Unease. She'd done everything right, made every shot, saved lives. So why did it feel like she was about to get burned? Hale's office was cramped with bodies. The general sat behind his desk. Martinez leaned against the wall to his right. The 2 officers, Colonel Vance and a thin man in civilian clothes who hadn't introduced himself, occupied the only chairs. That left Lena standing in front of the desk like she was facing a tribunal. Staff Sergeant Voss, Vance said. His voice was flat, professional, the kind that gave nothing away. Hell of a performance out there. Thank you, sir. 18 confirmed kills, including 4 ricochet shots through a window that, according to our ballistics team, shouldn't have been physically possible. I got lucky, sir. Luck. The civilian spoke for the first time. His accent was East Coast, educated. You want to run that by me again because I've reviewed your personnel file, your SOTIC scores, your deployment history, and luck isn't a word that appears anywhere. Lena said nothing. Vance leaned forward. Let me be direct, Sergeant. You've been operating in this region for 8 months on a cultural engagement tasking, but the reports you filed, they're not what we'd expect from someone doing hearts and minds work. He pulled out a folder, opened it. Detailed terrain analysis, guard rotation schedules, infrastructure assessments, radio frequency mapping. He looked up. That's not cultural engagement, that's target development. I was gathering intelligence, sir, without authorization. I had authorization to conduct reconnaissance. Reconnaissance, the civilian cut in, doesn't typically involve establishing concealed observation posts and conducting weeks-long surveillance of high-value targets. Hale's jaw tightened. Where's this going? Vance closed the folder. General, your sniper has been running an unsanctioned intelligence operation for the better part of a year. She's been building target packages, mapping infiltration routes, essentially planning operations without oversight or approval. She saved my men's lives, twice. I'm not questioning her effectiveness. I'm questioning her judgment. Vance shifted his attention back to Lena. Who authorized you to conduct solo reconnaissance on Zarkon's compound? No one, sir. Then why did you do it? Because someone needed to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. The civilian stood, walked to the window. Staff Sergeant Voss graduated from SOTIC 3 years ago with a 96% final score. That's the second highest score in the program's history. She's been deployed to 3 different combat zones, operated solo in denied areas for months at a time. And somehow, despite all this, she's been kept at the staff sergeant rank. No promotions, no awards, no recognition. He turned to face her. Why is that? Lena met his eyes, said nothing. I'll tell you why, he continued. Because you kept requesting to be left alone. Every time someone tried to move you into a training role or a leadership position, you turned it down. You specifically asked to stay operational, to stay invisible. I'm good at my job, sir. You're exceptional at your job. That's the problem. He glanced at Vance. She's been operating outside the chain of command, making decisions that should go through proper channels. And now she's embedded with a SEAL team that's starting to rely on her. Hale stood. With respect, sir, I don't give a damn about proper channels. She's the best sniper I've ever worked with, period. If you're here to pull her off my team, we're not pulling her, Vance said. We're offering her a choice. The room went quiet. Vance opened another folder. Joint Special Operations Command is standing up a new unit. Small, flexible, designed for high-risk reconnaissance and direct action in denied areas. We need operators who can work alone for extended periods, who can make decisions without oversight, who can get results when conventional assets can't. He slid a document across the desk. Lena didn't touch it. What kind of unit? She asked. The kind that doesn't officially exist, the civilian said. The kind that operates in places we're not supposed to be, doing things we're not supposed to do. You want me to go black? We want you to do what you've already been doing, just with proper support and authorization. Hale leaned forward. She's my sniper. She's a national asset being wasted on overwatch, Vance countered. General, you've got a dozen qualified snipers you could pull from SOCOM. She's one of maybe 5 people in the entire military who can do what we're asking. And if I refuse? Lena asked. Vance and the civilian exchanged a look. Then you go back to your cultural engagement tasking, Vance said. Sitting in cafes, taking notes, watching the war happen without you. The threat was clear. If she didn't volunteer, they'd bury her. Martinez spoke up for the first time. How long does she have to decide? 72 hours. That's not enough time. It's more than enough, Lena interrupted. She looked at Hale. Sir, can I speak with you? Alone? Vance stood. We'll give you 10 minutes. He and the civilian stepped outside. The door clicked shut. Silence filled the office. Hale sat down heavily, rubbed his face. You don't have to do this. Don't I? They're bluffing. They can't just reassign you without... Yes, they can. She moved to the window, looked out at the base. I've been dancing on the edge of regulations for years, sir, pushing boundaries, operating in gray areas. They've been watching, and now they've got me cornered. So fight back. How? They're right. Everything I've done, the recon, the target packages, the solo ops, it was all outside proper channels.
I knew it. I did it anyway. Because it needed to be done. That's not a defense, not in their world. Martinez pushed off the wall. What do you want to do? She turned. Honestly, I don't know. Hale leaned back in his chair. Let me tell you what I know about JSOC. They don't build units for people who follow orders. They build units for people who get results. If you join them, you'll have resources, support, freedom to operate how you want. I'll also be completely alone. No team. No backup. Just me and whatever mission they decide to throw at me. You've been operating alone for 8 months. By choice. This would be permanent. Would that be so bad? She didn't answer right away. Thought about the past 2 weeks. The briefings, the ops, the weight of keeping 23 men alive. The weight of belonging somewhere. I don't know, she said finally. Hale stood, walked to the map on his wall. I joined the SEALs because I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. Wanted brothers I could count on. For 26 years, that's what kept me going. He looked at her. But you're not like me. You don't need that. You never have. How do you know? Because if you did, you wouldn't have spent 8 months alone in the desert. You would have found a way back to a team, to people. He paused. You chose solitude. This job is just making it official. The words hit harder than she expected. Because he was right. She'd always been alone, even in groups, even surrounded by people. There was a wall between her and everyone else, something she couldn't articulate but had always felt. Maybe this was just accepting what she'd always known. What would you do? She asked quietly. In my position? Hale smiled faintly. I'd tell them to go to hell, but I'm a stubborn old bastard who doesn't know when to quit. He crossed his arms. You're different, smarter, more adaptable. You'll make the right choice. And if I choose wrong, then you'll live with it, same as the rest of us. The debrief happened without her. Lena sat outside the command tent, back against the corrugated metal, listening to voices inside. The SEALs were running through the operation step by step. Successes, failures, lessons learned. She should have been in there, but Hale had given her space to think. Kowalski emerged first. Saw her, sat down. You good? Define good. Fair point. He pulled out a protein bar, offered her half. She shook her head. Heard you had a meeting with the brass. News travels fast. Always does. He took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. They trying to poach you? Something like that. You gonna take it? I don't know. He nodded. Didn't push, just sat there in comfortable silence. Finally, he said, Can I tell you something? Sure. When you first showed up, I thought you were dead weight. Figured Hale was doing someone a favor, checking a box, keeping some higher up happy. He looked at her. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize. Yeah, I do, because I judged you before I knew you, before I saw what you could do. He crumpled the wrapper. The guys in there, they're talking about you. And it's not jokes anymore, it's respect, real respect, the kind you don't get by accident. I just did my job. You saved lives, including mine. That's more than a job. She looked at him. If I leave, if I take this reassignment, someone else will take my spot. Someone just as good. Bullshit. He said it flatly, without heat. There's no one as good as you, not on this base, maybe not in the whole damn military. You don't know that. I watched you thread 4 shots through a 6-inch window at 1,800 meters. I know exactly what you are. He stood, dusted off his pants. Whatever you decide, just know. You've got a home here if you want it. The team wants you. Hale wants you. Hell, even Bishop wants you. And he barely knows you. Thanks. Don't thank me. Just don't disappear without saying goodbye. He walked back toward the tent. Stopped. Oh, and Voss? Yeah? Whatever they're offering, make sure it's worth losing this. He went inside. Lena sat alone, watching the stars. She found Hale in the armory at midnight. He was field stripping an M4, hands moving with the muscle memory of decades. He looked up when she entered. Couldn't sleep. Never can after an op. Yeah, me neither.
He set down the upper receiver. You make a decision? Not yet, but I have questions. Shoot. She leaned against the workbench. That ricochet shot. Through the window. You said it was impossible. It was. But I made it. You did.
How many people can make that shot? He thought about it. In the entire military? Maybe 3. Maybe. And if I walk away from JSOC, if I stay here, how long before they sideline me? Reassign me to some training billet where I'm not a threat to anyone's career? Hale's expression darkened. Is that what you think this is about? Politics? Isn't it? I'm too good at my job. I operate outside the rules. I make people uncomfortable. She crossed her arms. The only reason they're offering me this position is because they can't afford to let me stay where I am. I'm a liability. You're an asset. Same thing in their eyes. He didn't argue. Couldn't. So what do I do? She asked. Take the job and disappear into the shadows? Or stay here and watch my career die a slow death? Those aren't your only options. What's the third? You fight, you stay with the team, you prove you can operate within the system without breaking it. I've been trying that for 6 years. It hasn't worked. Then try harder, she laughed. No humor in it. You really think that'll make a difference? I think you have a choice. You can let them define you, or you can define yourself. He picked up the M4 again, started reassembling it. The question is, what do you want? She opened her mouth, closed it. What did she want? For years, the answer had been simple. To be useful, to do the job, to make a difference. But now? Now she didn't know. I want to matter, she said finally. I want to do work that means something, that saves lives. You're already doing that. For how long? Until they reassign me? Until I'm too old or too slow or too damaged? She shook her head. JSOC is offering permanence, a place where I can operate without looking over my shoulder. You'll also be alone, permanently. Maybe that's what I'm meant for. Hale set down the rifle, looked at her hard. Don't confuse what you're good at with what you're meant for. They're not the same thing. How would you know? Because I spent 20 years being good at killing people, and it almost destroyed me. His voice was quiet, intense. The only thing that saved me was the team, the people around me who kept me human, who reminded me there was more to life than the next mission. I'm not you. No, you're younger, smarter, better at this than I ever was. He paused. But you're heading down the same road, and trust me, it doesn't end well. She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, but she couldn't, because deep down, she knew he was right. Ikin. The next morning, she found Bishop in the gym. He was doing physical therapy, resistance bands, light weights. His face was pale, sweat beading his forehead. You're pushing too hard, she said. He looked up. Doc cleared me for light duty. Light duty doesn't mean destroying yourself. I'm fine. You got shot 3 days ago. Barely grazed. Through your shoulder, that's not a graze. He set down the weight. What do you want, Sergeant? I want to ask you something. Okay? She sat down on the bench across from him. When you froze during the op, what were you thinking? He looked away. I don't know. Yes, you do. A long silence, then I was thinking about my sister. Your sister? She's 12, lives in Ohio with my mom. Last time I called her, she asked when I was coming home. His voice cracked slightly. And I realized, what if I don't? What if I die out here and she spends the rest of her life wondering why? So you froze. I didn't freeze. I just hesitated. Same thing in combat. I know. He looked at her. That's why I'm training, so it doesn't happen again. She studied him, saw the determination, the fear underneath it. Can I tell you something? She said. Sure. Fear doesn't go away. You just get better at managing it. How? You remember why you're here, what you're fighting for. She paused. Your sister, she's why you hesitate. But she's also why you can't, because if you die, she loses her brother. But if your team dies because you froze, a dozen other sisters lose their brothers.
He absorbed that.
That's a lot of pressure. Welcome to the job. How do you handle it? She thought about it. I don't think about the pressure. I think about the shot, the wind, the distance. Everything else falls away. That simple? That hard. She stood. Get some rest. You're no good to anyone if you break yourself. Voss? She turned. Whatever happens, wherever you end up, thanks for saving my life.
Thank me by not getting shot again. He smiled faintly. I'll try. She made her decision at sunset. Found Hale on the range. He was shooting his sidearm, slow, methodical, placing rounds in a tight group at 25 meters. She waited until he finished the magazine. I'm staying, she said. He lowered the weapon. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Why? Because you were right. I'm good at being alone, but that doesn't mean it's what I'm meant for. She looked at the target downrange. JSOC wants someone who can disappear, who doesn't need people. But I'm tired of disappearing. I want to be part of something. Even if it's messy? Even if people doubt you? Especially then. He smiled. Actually smiled. All right, I'll make the call. What about Vance? The JSOC guy? I'll handle them. He reloaded the pistol. You just focus on being the best damn sniper this team has ever had. Already done, he laughed. Modest, too. I learned from the best. He handed her the pistol. Show me what you've got. She took it, felt the weight, the balance, raised it, aimed, fired, center mass, perfect group. Not bad, Hale said. Not bad? She fired again, same spot. That's textbook. Textbook is boring. Do it faster. She did. 4 rounds, 2 seconds, all center mass. Better. He took the pistol back. Welcome to the team, Ghost. I thought that was just a nickname. It was. Now it's official. He ejected the magazine. Kowalski's already got patches made. You're kidding. Dead serious. He spent 2 hours last night designing them. Little Ghost with a rifle. It's actually pretty good. She shook her head. I'm never living this down. Nope. He clapped her shoulder. But that's what happens when you earn respect. People give you shit. It's a sign of affection. I'll keep that in mind. They walked back toward the base together. The sun was setting behind them, painting the desert in shades of gold and red. Can I ask you something? Hale said. Sure. That inscription on your rifle, for those who cannot speak. What's it mean? She was quiet for a moment. It means I speak for the people who can't protect themselves, who can't fight back, who need someone to stand between them and the darkness. That's why you do this. Yeah, that's why. Not for the country, not for the flag, for the people. The people are the country, sir. He nodded slowly. Yeah, they are. They reached the command tent. Inside, the SEALs were gearing up for another op, already moving on to the next mission. Hale stopped at the entrance. You ready for this? Lena looked at the men inside. At Kowalski laughing with Carter, at Bishop checking his rifle with shaking hands, at Martinez briefing a new member, her team, her family, her home. Yeah, she said. I'm ready. She stepped inside, and for the first time in 6 years, she didn't feel alone. The briefing room felt different now. Lena stood at the back, same position as before, but the weight had shifted. When she'd walked in, Kowalski had nodded. Carter had grinned. Even Bishop, arm still in a sling, had given her a small wave. She wasn't furniture anymore. Hale was at the front, Martinez beside him, both studying a new set of satellite images projected on the screen. Listen up, Hale said. Intel from Zarkon is paying off. We've identified 3 more network nodes, all within striking distance. Command wants us to hit them simultaneously, 72 hours from now. A murmur rippled through the room. 3 targets, Carter said. That's spreading us thin. That's why we're bringing in additional assets. Second SEAL team arrives tomorrow. We split into 3 elements: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. Each hits a separate compound. Martinez pointed at the map. Alpha takes the northern compound. Bravo takes west. Charlie takes east. Overwatch positions are critical for all 3. Lena's chest tightened. 3 targets. 3 overwatch positions. She couldn't be in 3 places at once. Hale looked directly at her. Voss, you'll be with Alpha. We're hitting the primary target, the compound where Zarkon's second-in-command operates. Highest security, highest risk. Copy that, sir. The other 2 elements will have their own snipers. Staff Sergeant Chen and Gunnery Sergeant Oakes, both SOTIC graduates, both solid. She knew Chen, quiet, methodical, good shooter. Oakes she'd heard of but never met. Reputation said he was aggressive, liked to push the limits. When do they arrive? Someone asked. 24 hours. We'll run integrated rehearsals, make sure everyone's on the same page. Haley paused. This is the big one. We break this network, we save lives, ours and theirs. Questions? Silence. Good. Get your gear squared away. Dismissed. The SEALs filed out. Lena stayed behind. Hale approached. You good with this? Yes, sir. You'll be working with other snipers, coordinating fires, deconflicting sectors. I understand. Some snipers don't play well with others. I'm not some snipers. He smiled faintly. No, you're not. He glanced at Martinez. Give us a minute. Martinez nodded and left. When they were alone, Hale's expression grew serious. I spoke with Colonel Vance this morning. And? He wasn't happy, tried to pull rank, threatened to go over my head. What happened? I went over his head first. Hale leaned against the table. Called in a favor with an old friend at JSOC. Explained that you're critical to ongoing operations, that pulling you now would jeopardize mission success. Did it work? For now. You've got a reprieve, but Vance isn't done. He'll be watching, looking for any excuse to justify his position. That I'm too dangerous to leave in the field. Exactly. He crossed his arms. So you need to be perfect. No mistakes, no gray areas. Everything by the book. That's not how I operate. Then learn. Because if you screw up, if you give them ammunition, they'll bury you so deep you'll never see daylight. She absorbed that. Understood. I mean it, Voss. One wrong move and you're done. I said, I understand. He studied her face, looking for doubt, for weakness. He didn't find any. All right, get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be long. Peut-être. Chen and Oakes arrived the next afternoon. Lena was on the range when they showed up. She'd been there since dawn, running drills, distance shots, moving targets, wind calls, staying sharp. She heard boots on gravel, turned. 2 figures approached, both carrying rifle cases, both moving with the controlled confidence of people who'd done this before. Chen was first, short, stocky, Asian features, eyes that missed nothing. Staff Sergeant Voss? His voice was calm, even. That's me. Chen, 3rd Battalion. Heard a lot about you. Don't believe everything you hear. I don't believe anything until I see it. He set his case down, extended a hand. Looking forward to working with you. She shook it, firm grip, confident but not aggressive. The second figure stepped forward, taller, broader, Caucasian with a shaved head and a scar running down his left cheek. Oakes, he said. Didn't offer a hand. You're the one who made that ricochet shot. Yeah. Bullshit. The word hung in the air. Chen shifted uncomfortably. Oakes, I'm serious. I've been shooting for 12 years. That shot is physically impossible. The angle, the deflection, the margin for error. He crossed his arms. So either you got the luckiest shot in history, or someone's embellishing the story. Lena set down her rifle. You calling me a liar? I'm saying I'd like to see proof. Proof's back at the compound, in the bodies. Bodies don't prove skill. They prove someone shot them. Could have been anyone. Chen stepped between them. All right, let's take it down a notch. No, it's fine. Lena's voice was ice. He wants proof. I'll give him proof. She grabbed her rifle, walked to the firing line. Oakes followed. What are you doing? Showing you what I can do. She scanned the range, found what she was looking for. A steel target at 1,200 meters. Behind it, a concrete barrier. And beyond that, another target at 1,500. Impossible angle. The barrier blocked any direct line of sight. But not an indirect one. She loaded a single round, seated the rifle against her shoulder. "Watch," she said. She aimed high, way high, at a metal beam jutting from the barrier at a 45-degree angle. Chen's eyes widened. "You're not—" Boom! The rifle kicked. The bullet screamed downrange. 1 second, 2. The first target remained untouched, but the second target, the one behind the barrier, rang like a bell. Dead center. Silence. Oakes stared. "What the hell?" "Ricochet," Chen breathed. "You bounced it off the beam." "Same principle as the window shot," Lena said calmly. "Calculate the angle. Account for deflection. Execute." Oakes walked down range, checked the beam, checked the target, came back shaking his head. "That's insane. That's physics. No one shoots like that." "I do." He looked at her with new eyes. Not hostile anymore. Just stunned. "How long did it take you to learn that?" 3 years of practice, 1,000 rounds, a lot of failure. "And now you can just do it?" "Now I can do it when it counts." Chen laughed. Actual, genuine laughter. "Okay, I'm convinced. You're the real deal." Oakes didn't laugh, but he extended his hand. "I was wrong. My apologies." She shook it. "Apology accepted." "Can you teach me that?" "Not in 72 hours. "What about 73? She almost smiled. "Maybe." The rehearsals were brutal. 3 teams, 3 compounds, coordinated timing, deconflicted fire sectors. Lena worked with Chen and Oakes to establish protocols, call signs, target designations, priority of fires. Chen was methodical, wanted everything planned down to the second. Oakes was aggressive, wanted flexibility, room to adapt. Lena was somewhere in between. "What happens if Alpha takes contact early?" Oakes asked. "Do we abort, adjust timing?" "We adapt," Lena said. "Each element operates independently. If Alpha goes hot, Bravo and Charlie continue unless ordered otherwise." "That's risky." "Everything about this is risky." Chen nodded. "She's right. We have to trust each other. Trust the plan." "I trust the plan," Oakes said. "I don't trust Murphy's Law." "Then prepare for it," Lena countered. "Run contingencies. Have backup positions. But don't freeze when things go sideways." "Speaking from experience?" "Always." They ran the scenarios, again and again, until everyone knew their role, their sectors, their limits. By the 3rd day, they moved like a single organism. Hale watched from the observation post. When they finished the final rehearsal, he called them over. "Good work. All of you." He looked at Lena. "You ready?" "Yes, sir." "Chen? Oakes?" Both nodded. "Then let's do this. Wheels up at 0200, get some rest." The insertion was smooth. Too smooth. Lena lay on a ridge 1,200 meters from the target compound, watching through her scope. Everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. Guards rotating, lights on, movement inside, textbook, which made her nervous. She keyed her radio. "Overwatch Alpha in position. Compound looks active. Multiple personnel visible." "Copy, Overwatch Alpha. Bravo and Charlie report similar." Chen's voice crackled through. "Overwatch Bravo set. I've got good coverage on the western compound." Then Oakes. "Charlie in position. Eastern compound is hot. Lots of movement." Hale's voice. "All elements stand by. We initiate in 10 minutes. Mark." Lena settled deeper into her position, controlled her breathing, slowed her heart rate. This was it. The culmination of everything. All the training, all the preparation. 9 minutes, 8, 7. Then Chen's voice. Urgent. "Overwatch Bravo. I've got vehicles inbound to my compound. 4 trucks, armed personnel." "How many?" "At least 20, maybe more." Hale. "Can you confirm hostile intent?" "They're carrying RPGs and belt feds. Pretty sure they're not here for tea." "Bravo team, do you have coverage?" Martinez. "Negative. We're still 5 minutes out." A pause. Then Hale. "Overwatch Bravo, you are authorized to engage. Keep them off that compound." "Copy. Engaging." Through her radio, Lena heard the distant crack of Chen's rifle. Then chaos. "Contact! Taking fire!" "Bravo, fall back to secondary position." "We can't! They're blocking the route." Lena's hands tightened on her rifle. Chen was pinned. Bravo team was too far out, and she was 1,200 meters away at a different compound. Useless. Then Oaks. Charlie breaking from schedule. We're moving to support Bravo. Hale. Negative. Hold your position. Sir, they're going to get overrun. I said hold. Lena made a decision. Alpha Overwatch breaking position. Moving to support Bravo. Boss, negative. Stay on target. Sir, Chen can't hold alone. He needs backup. I can get there. You'll leave Alpha exposed. Alpha can wait. Bravo can't. She was already moving, grabbing her gear, running. Voss, that's an order. She didn't respond, just ran. Across the ridge, down the slope, cutting across the desert at a dead sprint. Her radio exploded with voices. Chen. I'm Winchester. Out of ammo. Martinez. Bravo team is 3 minutes out. Help. Voss, if you abandon your position. She didn't hear the rest. Too focused, too committed. One click to Chen's position. Maybe less. She ran harder. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. The rifle case slammed against her back with every step. 30 seconds. 20. There. Chen's ridge. She could see muzzle flashes below, hear gunfire. She dropped to a knee, tore open the rifle case, assembled the Barrett with shaking hands. 40 seconds. New personal record. She went prone. Acquired targets. 20 men, advancing on Chen's position. 50 meters out. She fired. Boom. Lead man dropped. Boom. Second man. Boom. Third. The advance faltered, confused, taking fire from a new direction. Chen's voice. Who the hell is that? It's Voss. I've got your back. Get to secondary position. You abandoned Alpha? Move. Now. He moved. Lena provided cover. Shot after shot. Methodical. Precise. The enemy scattered, seeking cover, trying to locate the new threat. She didn't give them time. 10 rounds, 10 targets. Then Bravo team arrived. 8 SEALs hitting the flank. Overwhelming force. The fight lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 20 enemy combatants were down. 0 friendly casualties. Lena stood, started breaking down the rifle. Her radio crackled. Hale's voice, cold, furious. Boss, what the hell did you just do? Saved Chen's life, sir. You abandoned your position, left Alpha exposed. Alpha wasn't in contact, Bravo was. That wasn't your call to make. She wanted to argue, to defend herself, but he was right. She disobeyed a direct order. Broken protocol. Operated outside her authority. Everything Vance had warned about. Understood, sir, she said quietly. Get back to base. We'll deal with this when I get there. What about Alpha? Oaks moved to cover your sector. Alpha's hitting the compound now. Relief washed through her. And Charlie? Also proceeding, both teams are green. Copy. She hiked back to the exfil point alone, every step heavier than the last. She'd saved Chen, saved Bravo team, but she'd probably just ended her career. The base was quiet when she arrived. Most of the teams were still in the field, only support personnel and a few guards. She dropped her gear at the armory, started walking toward her quarters. Hale's voice stopped her. My office. Now. She followed him inside. He closed the door, didn't sit, just stood there, staring at her. Do you have any idea what you've done? His voice was low, dangerous. Yes, sir. Colonel Vance is already calling for your head, insubordination, dereliction of duty, abandonment of post. He slammed his hand on the desk. I vouched for you. I put my reputation on the line, and you threw it back in my face. I saved lives. You disobeyed orders. Chen was going to die. That wasn't your call to make. He leaned forward. You're not in command, Sergeant. You don't get to make tactical decisions based on what you think is right. You follow orders. Even if those orders get people killed? Yes, because without discipline, without structure, we're just armed thugs running around the desert. She met his eyes, didn't back down. Then maybe I'm not cut out for this. The words hung between them. Hale straightened. What are you saying? I'm saying you were right. I don't fit. I operate in gray areas. I make decisions that make people uncomfortable. She took a breath. Maybe JSOC is where I belong. You're quitting. I'm accepting reality. Bullshit. He moved around the desk, stood face to face with her. You're running, just like you've been running your whole career. Anytime things get hard, anytime you have to answer to someone, you disappear. That's not fair, isn't it? How many units have you been through? How many times have you requested reassignment because you didn't like the leadership or the mission or the people? She didn't answer. You're the best sniper I've ever seen, he continued, but you're also the most stubborn, self-destructive operator I've ever met. You'd rather be alone than compromise, rather fail on your own terms than succeed on someone else's. So what do you want from me? I want you to stay. I want you to fight. I want you to prove that you can be part of something without destroying it. I saved Chen. You also abandoned Alpha, put Oaks in a position he wasn't prepared for, forced two teams to adjust on the fly. He took a breath, forced himself calm. You made the right tactical decision, but you made it the wrong way. She looked away. Then what should I have done? Communicated, told me what you were seeing, let me make the call. There wasn't time. There's always time, even if it's just 5 seconds. He paused. You don't trust anyone, Voss. Not me, not the team, not the system. And until you do, you'll never be more than a lone wolf pretending to run with a pack. The words cut deep, because they were true. She'd been alone so long, she didn't know how to be anything else. I don't know if I can change, she said quietly. Then figure it out, because if you can't, he trailed off. I can't protect you anymore. The next 72 hours were hell. Formal investigation, written statements, interviews with every member of both teams. Colonel Vance personally led the inquiry. He was thorough, relentless, looking for any crack in her defense. Chen testified that she'd saved his life, that without her intervention, he'd be dead. Oaks testified that covering Alpha's sector had been challenging but manageable. Martinez testified that Bravo team had arrived in time to finish the fight, but Voss's fire support had been critical. Even Bishop, still recovering, submitted a statement about how she'd saved him during the first op. But Vance wasn't swayed. Sergeant Voss has a pattern of operating outside established protocols, he said during the final hearing. She makes unilateral decisions, disregards orders, and while the outcomes have been favorable, the precedent is dangerous. She saved lives, Hale countered. This time. What about next time? What happens when her judgment is wrong? When her decision gets someone killed? That could happen to anyone. Not anyone has her track record of insubordination. Hale's jaw tightened. With respect, sir, this is about more than one decision. You've wanted her out of the field since before this happened. You're using this as justification. I'm using this as evidence of a larger problem. Vance turned to Lena. Sergeant, do you have anything to say? She'd been silent through most of the hearing, letting others speak for her, but now she stood. I made a choice, she said. I saw a teammate in danger and I acted. Maybe I should have called it in. Maybe I should have waited for orders. But in that moment, I did what I thought was right. And if General Hale had ordered you not to move, then I would have had to decide whether to follow orders or follow my conscience. That's not how the military works. I know, and that's the problem. The room went silent. Vance leaned back. Are you saying you can't be trusted to follow orders? I'm saying I can't be trusted to follow orders I believe will get people killed. Then you don't belong in a combat unit. Maybe not. Hale shot her a look, sharp, warning, but she didn't back down. Sir, I've spent 6 years trying to fit into a system that doesn't know what to do with me. I'm too independent for conventional units, too undisciplined for special operations, and apparently too dangerous to leave in the field. She took a breath. So maybe you're right. Maybe I don't belong here. Vance studied her. Are you resigning? I'm saying I'll accept whatever decision you make. If you want to send me to JSOC, I'll go. If you want to reassign me stateside, I'll do that too, but I won't apologize for saving a life. Another silence. Then Vance closed his folder. I'll make my recommendation to command within 48 hours. Until then, you're restricted to base. Dismissed. She found Hale outside the command tent that night. He was smoking, something she'd never seen him do. Didn't know you smoked, she said. I don't. Quit 12 years ago. He took a drag. But today seemed like a good day to relapse. She sat down on the bench beside him. I'm sorry. For what? For making your life harder. He exhaled smoke, watched it drift into the darkness. You know what the worst part is? What? You were right. Chen would have died. Maybe the whole team. You saw it. You acted. You saved them. He flicked ash. And now you're being punished for it. That's the military. Yeah, it is. He looked at her. But it doesn't have to be. What do you mean? I mean, there are people fighting for you. Chen wrote a letter to his command. Oaks did too. Martinez is drafting a commendation for your actions. He paused. Even Bishop's family sent a thank you card. Apparently his sister wrote a whole page about how grateful she is that you saved her brother. Lena's throat tightened. The team wants you to stay, Hale continued. Not because you're useful, because you're one of us. You proved that. Not with your shooting, with your choices. Vance doesn't care. Vance isn't the final authority. There are people above him, people who understand that war isn't about following orders blindly. It's about making impossible decisions and living with the consequences. So what happens now? Now we wait and hope that the people making the decision have the sense to see what I see, which is that you're exactly the kind of operator we need, flawed, stubborn, impossible to control. He smiled faintly, but absolutely lethal when it counts. The decision came 46 hours later. Lena was in the gym when Hale found her. His expression was unreadable. Walk with me, he said. They walked to the edge of the base, where the lights ended and the desert began. Vance made his recommendation, Hale said. He wants you reassigned, out of theater, out of combat operations. Her heart sank. But, she looked up. But his recommendation was overruled by 3 different people at JSOC, including my friend. He turned to face her. You're staying, with the team, full operational status. Relief crashed through her. What about the insubordination charge? Dropped. Officially, you acted within your authority as Overwatch to provide emergency fire support to an endangered element. That's a stretch. That's politics. He crossed his arms. But there are conditions. What conditions? You work on your communication. You keep me informed. And if I give you an order, you follow it. Even if you disagree. We can debate after. But in the moment, you trust me. And if I can't, then we're done. No second chances, no appeals. You're out. She met his eyes. I can do that. You sure? No, but I'll try. He extended his hand. That's all I'm asking. She shook it. Welcome back, Ghost. The team found out that night. Someone, probably Kowalski, organized an impromptu celebration. Nothing official. Just SEALs gathering in the rec tent with whatever contraband liquor they'd smuggled onto base. Lena walked in to applause. Actual, genuine applause. Kowalski handed her a beer. Heard you're sticking around. Looks like. Good. We were running low on people who could actually shoot. Carter raised his bottle. To the Ghost. Stubbornest sniper in the military. Here, here. They drank. Chen approached. Thank you for what you did. You would have done the same. Maybe. But I'm glad I didn't have to find out. He paused. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Yeah, I do. And I always pay my debts. He raised his beer. You ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call me. I'll keep that in mind. Oaks was next. I was wrong about you. Again. You're making a habit of that. Yeah, well, I'm a slow learner. He grinned. But I'd like to train with you sometime. Learn that ricochet technique. You sure? It takes years. I've got time. Even Bishop showed up. Arm out of the sling now, moving carefully, but moving. You're back in action? Lena asked. Doc cleared me. Light duty for now. But I'll be ready for the next stop. He hesitated. I wanted to say, you don't have to. Yeah, I do. He met her eyes. You saved my life, twice. Once when you made that shot, and once when you talked to me in the gym. Reminded me why I'm here. You would have figured it out. Maybe, but you helped. He extended his hand. Thank you. She shook it. Stay sharp, kid. I won't always be there to pull your ass out of the fire. I'll do my best. The party lasted until midnight. Then people started filtering out. Early missions tomorrow. Always another mission. Lena stayed until the end, helped clean up, stacked chairs, threw away bottles. Hale appeared as she was finishing. Good night? Yeah, it was.
You earned it. They walked outside together. The desert was quiet, peaceful. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why did you fight for me? You could have let Vance have his way. Would have been easier. He thought about it. Because I've seen too many good people get chewed up by the system. People who didn't fit the mold, who thought differently, operated differently. He looked at her. And every time we lose someone like that, we get a little bit worse, a little more rigid, a little less effective. So you kept me for the good of the service. I kept you because you remind me why I joined, to protect people, to make impossible decisions, to be better than the enemy. He paused. And because you're not done yet. You've got more to give, more to learn, more to become. No pressure, he smiled. You can handle it. They reached her quarters. She stopped. Sir? Yeah? Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for proving me right. He walked away. Lena stood alone in the darkness, listening to the wind. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. She had a team, a purpose, a home. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was hers. 3 months later, Lena stood on a different ridge, watching a different compound, providing overwatch for a different mission. But the fundamentals were the same. Breathe, focus, execute. The Barrett was steady in her hands. The scope was clear. The team was moving below. Kowalski's voice crackled through her earpiece. Overwatch Alpha, we're in position. Copy Alpha, I have eyes on. You're clear to proceed. Roger, moving now. She watched them flow through the breach. Smooth, professional, perfect. No contact, no resistance. In and out in 4 minutes. Package secured, exfil in progress. Good copy. I've got your back. She tracked them through the scope until they were clear. Then she broke down the rifle. Packed her gear. Started the hike back to the LZ. The sun was rising, painting the desert gold and red. Beautiful. She keyed her radio one last time. Overwatch returning to base. Hale's voice. Copy, Ghost. See you at home. Home, yeah. She could get used to that. 6 months after that, the award ceremony was small, private. Just the team and a few senior officers. Lena stood at attention while a general she'd never met pinned the Bronze Star to her uniform. For actions in combat, for saving lives under fire. The citation didn't mention the insubordination, the controversy, the fight to stay. It just mentioned the results. 8 lives saved, 3 successful operations, 0 friendly casualties. When it was over, the team applauded, genuine, proud. Hale shook her hand. You earned this. We all did. No, this one's yours. She looked at the medal, small, simple, but it meant something. Not because of what it represented, but because of who it came from. Her team, her family. Later, she found a quiet spot on the base, away from the noise, away from the celebration. She pulled out the Barrett, ran her fingers along the engraving. For those who cannot speak, she'd added a new line underneath. For those who stand beside me. Because she wasn't alone anymore. She had people who trusted her, who believed in her, who fought for her when she couldn't fight for herself. And that was worth more than any medal, worth more than any recognition. It was worth everything. The sun set over the desert. Another day done. Another mission complete. Lena packed up her gear, started walking back toward the base, toward the lights, toward the voices, toward home. She'd spent years proving she was good enough, capable enough, worthy enough. But she'd learned something more important. She didn't have to prove anything to anyone. She just had to show up, do the work, trust the people beside her. And when the moment came, when lives hung in the balance, she had to take the shot, every time, without hesitation, without doubt. Because that's what excellence looked like. Not perfection, not glory, just commitment to the mission, to the team, to the people who couldn't protect themselves. That was enough. That had always been enough. She just hadn't seen it until now. True excellence doesn't demand recognition.
It earns respect through action, one decision at a time, standing firm for those who cannot stand for themselves.